This focaccia came out of an air fryer, crispy on the outside, fluffy on the inside. If you have ever thought bread in an air fryer was a hit or a miss, stick around. I'm going to show you a foolproof way to get bakery level focaccia using a simple air fryer, helping you avoid common mistakes and level up your focaccia game. Begin with 600 grams of bread flour. I like to roughly sift it with my fingers. It sounds unnecessary, but it actually aerates the flour and gives the yeast a head start. Speaking of yeast, add about 6 grams of it. That's about 1% of the flour weight. Use a whisk to adequately combine the yeast with the flour. Next, I'm adding 480 grams of lukewarm water plus a pinch of sugar. If you're using active dry yeast instead, dissolve it in water with half a teaspoon of sugar. Now here's a small hack. Notice that I measure the water separately, never pouring it directly into the flour. You can always add water in but never take it out. Once your measurement is accurate, add the water in the flour and mix it together with a wooden spoon, scraping down the sides with a spatula when it gets sticky. Yeast eats sugar, produces tiny bubbles of carbon dioxide, and that's what gives us those bubbly air pockets you see in a proper focaccia. That's all fermentation is. Now this mix puts us at 80% hydration, meaning the water is 80% by weight of the flour. Too little water and your focaccia will be dry, too much of it and you'll end up with a gummy mess. That's one reason why you never want to measure by cups, always by weight using a weighing scale. After about a minute of mixing, add 12 grams of salt and 15 grams of olive oil. The salt strengthens the dough structure and oil keeps it supple and flavorful. Mix again for another minute until there are no greasy pockets of dough left. Then cover the bowl with a damp towel and let it rest for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, the dough should look alive, bubbly, airy, almost doubled in size. That's just the yeast doing its thing. Eat sugar, fart gas, and puff up the dough. Now we need to give the dough some structure. This is going to help build that lighter, airier crumb on the focaccia. Think of it like tightening a net. You're strengthening the gluten so it can hold on to all that gas. Here's how we do this. Keep a small bowl of water nearby to wet your hands. Pick up one side of the dough, stretch it gently upward, and then fold it back down onto itself. Rotate the bowl by about 45 degrees and then repeat. If the dough tears at this stage, don't panic. That's just weak gluten. Every fold is training it and making it stronger. After about 8 turns of the bowl, you'll be back where you started. At this point, slide your wet hand under the dough, lift it and let it drop back onto the bowl with a slap. Again, sticky dough is normal. If it clings to your hand, just scrape it off with the spatula and carry on. Here's a mistake to avoid. Most people either add more flour because it feels sticky or add extra water by mistake when wetting their hands. Now both of those are going to ruin the hydration ratio we worked on so carefully to begin with. You've got to trust the process, do not fight the dough. Now that's round 1 of stretch and fold. Cover the bowl again, rest for another 30 minutes and you'll see the dough looking even stronger when we come back. After round 1 and a 30-minute rest, it's time for round 2. Same technique, stretch, fold and rotate. At this stage, the dough may still be loose and sticky, but it'll feel much better than the last time. So go on to complete the stretch and fold, followed by the slap and fold, then cover and rest for 30 minutes. Another 30 minutes later and we're on to round 3. Same stretch and fold, but notice the difference. The dough is smoother, more elastic and easier to handle. That's the gluten network building strength with each rest. Nothing changes in our technique, the dough itself begins to transform. After that, take 4 small aluminum trays and line them with generous amount of olive oil. You can use any tray that fits inside your air fry basket as long as it doesn't block the air circulation. Even though I'm not using one, you can consider using a parchment paper to avoid sticking. Next, oil your hands, divide the dough into 4 equal pieces and place one in each tray. Then drizzle a little more olive oil on top, cover with a damp towel and let the dough rest one last time for 30 minutes. This is the final proof where the dough relaxes, rises and fills up the baking tray. When we come back, it'll be ready for the signature focaccia poke. While the dough is in its final proof, let's prep the toppings. Dice frozen ham or bacon into tiny cubes or crumble some sausage if that's your thing. For a vegetarian spin, I'm also chopping some mushrooms. Consider thinly slicing some green onions or chives as well. They give a fresh bite and a nice pop of color. I like to keep them in cold water until I need them. It perks them right up. Finally, whisk together equal parts crème fraîche and cream cheese until silky smooth. This mix is going to give that creamy, tangy layer on top. After 45 minutes, the dough has spread to fill the foil tray. Spoon on the crème fraîche and cream cheese mix, then scatter your bacon or mushroom over the top. Now's the fun part. Use your fingers to poke the dough, pushing in some of the toppings and knocking out just a little bit of air. But don't go crazy on it, you still want bubbles inside to rise in the bake. Now this next step is crucial. Preheat your air fryer at 400 F or whatever is the highest temperature for at least 5 to 7 minutes. Skipping this means your focaccia will not spring up properly. Once the air fryer is hot, transfer the tray into the basket and bake for about 10 to 12 minutes at 400 F. Now your air fryer can be different than mine, and it's really important to check in once every couple of minutes that it isn't burning on top. When the focaccia is done in the air fryer, it should look like this. Now don't move it to the cutting board just yet. The top looks amazing, but the bottom may still be a little soft. To fix that, drop the focaccia on a ripping hot cast iron pan for a couple of minutes. This will ensure that your bottom is crisped up beautifully. Then transfer it to a cutting board, top with those bright green onions, drizzle some more olive oil and take a minute to appreciate it. Well, you just pulled a bakery level focaccia right out of an air fryer. Guys, I promise you, this bread will take your Saturday breakfast to the next level. I mean, just look at that cross section. Crispy crust, fluffy middle, all done in an air fryer. If you thought focaccia had to be complicated or oven only, this proves otherwise. And once you try it, you'll never look at your air fryer the same way again. So go make this. And hey, if this makes you hungry and you're out of time and energy to fix a meal, watch this video on how to make an addictive onion sandwich in just 2 minutes. And I'll see you in the next one.